in case people don't know who you are, if you don't mind giving a quick introduction about who you are and what you do.
Of course, yeah. So I'm Mod Doom. I am the senior community manager here at jagex for RuneScape Dragonwilds, our new survival game. I've been with jagex for 3 years now. Started in over on RuneScape. Started end of 2022. Came in, started 2023, and then been with the company ever since. Joined the team over here on Dragonwilds a year ago. I moved off of RuneScape. I was given this opportunity to sort of lead up the community and social front for Dragonwilds about a year ago. So I've been on the project for a year. It has been crazy. The journey that this game has been on in the past year has been amazing, and now it's out in front of players, and oh my goodness, it is so nice to see the reaction and see people just getting as excited as we are to be putting this game out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you say RuneScape's new survival game, but can you go into a bit of depth on what exactly is Dragonwilds?
So it's a 4-player survival co-op adventure with RuneScape elements. So if you've played, if you played like your Valheims, you've played your co-op games like that. You got your Abiotic Factor, your V-Rising, any game where you set out on an adventure and you got to build a base, you got to survive, you got to manage your resources, whether that's thirst or hunger, or in V-Rising case it's blood or whatever it is. You got to do all of that. But it's a RuneScape game, so every time you chop a tree, you get some wood cutting XP. Every time you hit a rock, you get some mining XP. Every time you craft something, you get some crafting XP. And every time you level up, a couple fireworks go off over your head, a little bit of music maybe. You open your skill guide, get a little something. You're one step closer to hitting max level. And when you in early access, we're starting to raise the level cap as we go. But the plan has always been day one, minute one, as soon as we reach the max level in a skill cape, boom.
Okay,
So it's going to have that. And if you've played a survival game, you get it. But if you played a RuneScape game, you get it.
Okay, we'll dive into more of those details later on because people definitely had questions about similar crossovers from the two, and that sounds super exciting. But we'll get into skills probably a bit later on. So why a co-op survival? I'm liking how you mentioned some really great rival titles, but also really good titles, right?
Yeah.
Enshrouded, Valheim, V-Rising, a great poll too. So why a co-op survival then?
I think it's something that jagex has always been interested in doing, purely because look, RuneScape's an incredible game. It's an I hate the term franchise, but it's a franchise of games. It's a series of games now with us. Woo! But the experience is massive. It's the first MMO is massive. It's enormous. It's an enormous world. It's an enormous undertaking. Getting maxed in old school is a Herculean feat, and I have infinite respect for the people who are committed to the grind. And some of our people, some of our community, some of our players, some of our fans have been with us for so long that now you're like, I want that RuneScape experience, but I can't commit to a fresh OSRS Ironman account. That's thousands of hours. I don't have that time. So it underpins the experience of, okay, there's that shared DNA of you are self-sufficient, you're out on your own, you gotta survive on your own intuition, you gotta start from zero and level up and get better and progress. But instead of it being thousands of hours, it's 20, 30, 40 hours of content that's sort of condensed into this sort of microcosm of this is the experience, but it still has all those RuneScapey things that you know and love. It's still got lore, it's got quests, it's got the humor, and it's got the fireworks when you level up, which I am so happy about. So it is something that it instills the same experience in a much smaller, a more digestible way that you can share with friends. And you can say, hey, I've got this character that's max level mining. I'm going to jump into a new world with a couple friends. I'm going to be the guy who does all the mining. You can go out and fight the dragon. You can go do this. You can go do that. I'm going to just get you resources. I'll be back. Or whatever it may be. So you can specialize and you can lean into a lot of the aspects that you find appealing. And it's kind of that RuneScapey DNA of play your way, right? You can max in any skill you want first on RuneScape. my first 99 was agility because everyone said it sucked, and I was like, I'm gonna get that out of the way first. I don't want to do that, so I did it first. And lots of people would be like, why would you ever do that? And I was like, I don't know, it's just how I wanted to do it. So we're kind of taking that same approach. It's a genre that, full disclosure, we totally understand. It's a highly competitive space. There's so many survival crafting games, and from just the small amount of footage that we've put out in the run up to our launch, people have looked at it and said, oh, this is like Enshrouded, it's like Valheim. And I personally, and I think the team as a whole, take that as a really big compliment, because those games are heavy hitters. They're big games. They're amazing experiences that millions of people have played. And for people to take one look at us and be like, that's like that game that's got like 3 million players. We're like, oh, okay, all right. Oh, that's good. That's a compliment. That's a huge for us. And obviously, we're going to do everything we can to stay true to that RuneScape DNA, and that and skill spells and all this awesome stuff that we're going to be putting into the game is hopefully going to set us apart. But we're in great company, so we're hoping that we're not encroaching on the space and being too much like any of those games, because they're amazing and we're big fans of all of those games. So we're trying not to steal too much from those or be compared too much to those, because we want to be our own thing, but it would be an honor to be in that kind of pool of games like that. So that's kind of, I think, where our appetite for this has come from, is that it is a RuneScape experience, and it's a genre that we as a company, as developers, as team, are huge fans of. So this has been a natural fit for us, and the team has really taken to it and done some awesome work. So we're really excited.
Yeah, that was definitely gonna be one of my questions, but I think you answered it very well about, would you guys be worried about those comparisons? But I like the answer of like, not necessarily worried. We don't want to be compared to them, but we're also in great company with such great titles. So even just from release trailers to have those comparisons means you're probably doing something in the right direction.
Absolutely.
But diving back on lore wise, so where do we find ourselves in Dragonwilds when it comes to comparison of the overall RuneScape universe? Where does this fit in that timeline? Is it that kind of lore, or is there a tie, a crossover?
Yeah. So this will be set in what's called RuneScape's 6th age. Now, the majority of players, old school players, will know their world as the 5th age. It's before the gods have returned. It's sort of when gods are talked about as sort of mythological and in hushed whispers around the Zamorakian cult and things like that. So in the 6th age, in what players call RuneScape 3, we have the gods return, and there's this cataclysmic clash of gods and ancient beings, and then the player character progresses through the storyline, and it culminates in this event where the gods are banished from Gielinor, from the world of RuneScape. They are sealed out, and they can't get back in. That is a very, very shorthand description of an amazing series of quests that players love. I've seen the survey result. We asked players what their favorite quests were. It's number one. It's top billing for like most impressive quest line. Players love it. So if you are an old school player and you're kind of like, it's RuneScape lore, it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about it. All you need to know is this continent has shown up in the distant north of the world map that we've never seen before. It's just appeared as if a veil of magic has shifted, and it's just there. And so people are going out and they're going to explore it. So we've got familiar characters from the world of RuneScape and old school RuneScape have headed north to find what's going on this continent. And they get there and they find this world of abandoned ruins and this beautiful environment that's completely reclaimed by nature. But on the way there, they get attacked by dragons. The party that set out barely survives, and the few characters that we have left manage to get a lodestone down, and they put the call out for help back to the mainland that they need heroes. And that hero is you, and you are a complete noob. You've got nothing but your green top and your brown boots and your bald head and your beard, and you are going to set off and you're going to make a name for yourself. You might not have a bald head and a beard. There's some character customization options, but you can be the classic bot character and you can go in there and make a name for yourself. So you arrive on this continent that has loads of rich history that ties to both RuneScape and old school, and you've just got to you got to kill a dragon to make a name for yourself. So that's where our story starts.
Awesome. Can't wait to see more expansion on that. So, some more base questions. How long has this, up to this point, been in development? And then when it comes to team size, how many people are now working on this project?
It's been, the team has sort of fluctuated in size. There was an initial sort of vertical slice built by, I mean, it was before my time. So I want to say a few dozen people, a couple dozen folks put together a vertical slice of the sort of core gameplay experience. And then it's gone through various iterations. So it's been in development for, I want to say, three or so years.
Wow.
There was a previous iteration of this that was set in a different environment, in a different timeline, at a different point in the timeline. Sorry. So it was more of a proto RuneScape story. But we were struggling with finding the vibe, and as a result, it was sort of much more approachable to say, okay, what if it was just a continent on the mainland? What if it wasn't something weird or different or disconnected from everything? Because the further removed we got from RuneScape, the world, the characters, the vibe, it started to become much less clear where the RuneScape essence of this game was going to be. So we were like, okay, you know what? Let's get back to grounding this now. So this version has been in development for, I want to say, around 2 years, long before I joined, and the team is comprised of between 35 and 50 folks across so many different departments. That's core systems, that's engineering, that's development, that's localization, that's QA. And then there's the product team, that's myself, that's user research, that's analytics and data. All sorts of amazing people across this whole team have been coming together to make this thing a reality. And we're a small, scrappy team. A lot of the folks that we work with are what we call central teams. So people like localization are not attached to specific projects. So they'll work on localization for writing up blog posts for any of the RuneScape games, and they'll make sure that stuff in game is localized correctly. All sorts of stuff like that they're lending a hand with this. We've just sort of shown up and we're like, hey, it's a third RuneScape game. And so many of the central teams have had to really lock in and be like, okay, we just got to help make this third game a reality. And we are so grateful for the help that those folks have made. But in the grand scheme of things, we're a small, scrappy team. We're infinitely smaller than the titanic workforce of people that are passionately pouring their love into Old School, for example. So we're hoping that folks can pardon our dust and appreciate that, it's an early access project. There's going to be some bugs. It's not feature complete yet, but we really wanted to do what Old School has done, right? And open this up to players and say, hey, we think we're onto something here. What do you think? How do you feel about this? And then as we build the game out and add more content and expand the continent and add more skills, add more features, really take players along that journey. And that's a lot of work for me, but that's why I'm here, is because I think it's so important to live up to that DNA of talking players through what we're doing and making it possible. So yeah, it's a small scrappy team, but we've got a lot of love and passion for this. So fingers crossed players see that passion when they get hands on with it.
Is there an official release date looming?
Yeah, there is. By the time that folks are hearing this, it'll be out on Steam Early Access. So you'll be able to get your hands on it right now, pick it up and play it. And it's going to be a real blast. Get yourself a couple friends or go in solo. There is no shame in doing this entirely by yourself. Live that Iron Man dream and head out into the continent and try and bring down a dragon and come back a hero.
Dang. So we're like less than 10 days out from early access. So
Correct.
what is that all is that going to be, what in terms of like the actual content release, like how big of a window is that? And then when can we expect like a full release? Is that even out yet, or is that still?
That full release is something it's the simplest way I can describe it is it's done when it's done. Really, we have been asked both externally and internally. There have been a lot of people coming to the Dragonwilds team and saying, hey, when is RuneScape Dragonwilds going to be fully released? When is it going to be done? And I can't give a concrete answer because, truth be told, I don't want us to rush this. And I think the team don't want us to rush this. We're saying, hey, let's try and make sure that we're fully done and we're really happy with this. So if we committed to a date now and then player feedback comes in and
Yeah.
says, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if you could change this, do this, add this, what if this? And then we find ideas that we really love and that date has to change, that's going to suck for players. So we're trying to keep that expectation measured by saying, we're not going to rush this and it's done when it's done. My dream is to have it done by winter 2026. So this time next year, not this time next year, this time in 2 years, it'll already be out, it'll be done, and we will be chilling with it. And maybe that also involves consoles with crossplay. That's a dream. That's something we've got on our board of like, that's what we want for the future is get folks playing on consoles. You can pick up and play with some friends. Maybe you've got a friend who's on PlayStation or Xbox and you can all jump in together. That would be awesome. So we're not going to rush it. So we're planning on, hopefully, fingers crossed, being able to put out some really cool content updates at a semi-regular basis. I'm thinking we're looking at between 3 to 4 months between updates of as in expansions rather than updates like patch notes and hot fixes and bug fixes. We're going to be firing those out all the time, but in terms of major updates, we're looking at a larger, more quarterly or triannually release schedule, purely because if we tried to do something like RuneScape or old school RuneScape does, where we have a change every week, it's not going to go well for us. So we're trying to be a little bit more realistic about saying, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put out what we've got, let players get hands on with it. And we've got an initial idea of where we want our roadmap to go. We know we want to add another expansion. We know we want to add a new region. That means a new dragon overlord for you to kill. That means new enemies. That means new skills, new NPCs, new quests. All of that stuff is going to be coming with the first expansion. It's a question of when that is and what we put in that we need to understand with players. If players come back to us and say, hey, it'd be really cool if we could have this, or we don't actually feel like that's that important, then we can rearrange stuff. But we have a roadmap and it's already shaping up to be really cool. But it's just a question of until players get hands on with this, we have no idea how this is going to go. And I would rather us and the team would rather us be a bit more risk averse and say, let's be safe. Let's listen to players before we start, charging on ahead into something that players might turn around and be like, actually, we didn't want that. So hopefully we're going to be able to put out a consistent release schedule. I know that one of the big names in survival crafting and co-op adventuring is Valheim. And I know that even in the comments from our initial teasers, there have been a few people pointing out that sort of Valheim's release schedule was kind of sporadic. And I'm hoping that, no shade, absolutely, totally understand. Game dev is crazy hard. And I can only empathize with the team over there working on Valheim for getting the content out, especially to expectations set by players. So I'm hoping that we can deliver content updates at a very regular basis that is clear and that players know when it's going to be coming out and what it's going to contain. So that's our plan, is try and release something every 3 to 4 months, get something in front of players, get their feedback on it, build on it, iterate, and then all of that is work towards, again, hopefully by winter 2026, players will be able to get it fully launched, full done, boxed release, and you can get your friends in on consoles as well. So that's the plan.
So is it fair to say then, just to reiterate, the goal by launch of that tentative date would be for PC and console? Because that was a huge question.
Yes. Yes. I know that on all of the different socials we've put out, on everything we've shared, players are like, please tell me it's coming to console. And I'm like, yeah, eventually, because I can't give you a date, because I don't want to give you a date and then you be disappointed. So you're going to have to trust me. It'll be out when it's out. And I know that sucks as a player. I hate it when I get that answer because I'm like, bro, just let me know when it's going to be, please. But we want to do this thing right. And I know that players will be patient and understand if we say, look, we don't want to screw this up. This is such a big moment for the world of RuneScape, for us as a company, for us as a team. We want to make sure that we're doing this right. And if we have to be a little bit more patient, and if players have to be a bit more patient for the end product to be as good as it can be, I'm sure they would understand.
And I'm sure this is tentative as well, but a lot of people curious is there a price point that is going to be given on the 15th that we can talk about now, or is that also still future discussion?
No, absolutely. It'll be retailing for in UK prices. It'll be $24.99 in early access, which is
That's good. That's
pretty
affordable.
good. That's
That's pretty
affordable,
good.
right? And then it'll be in a comparable price point for international markets. I don't have the prices off the top of my head. And then when we progress towards full launch, then it's going to go up in price. I'm thinking initial pricing is, I think we're looking at £34, which again, that is subject to change. That is like 2 years out. I don't want to think about it, but that is the ballpark figure that we're looking at right now. So $24.99 early access. So it'll be under $30. And then we'll see where it goes from there.
And then
And then I know I just because I feel like you're about to ask the question, so I won't interrupt. I'll let you go for it.
well, maybe I won't. Is naturally then if you get early access, are you then of course getting the full game on launch? How's that working?
Absolutely. Yeah. Once you're in, you're in. You buy it once, you keep it forever. That's it. We're just going to keep adding to it and keep updating on it and then iterating on it. So yeah, that's it. The question I thought you were going to ask, and one that I'm sure that I'm always going to be happy to address, is the structure that we have of how we monetize this has come under a lot of
I
scrutiny.
was going to ask
Because
that way at
obviously,
the very end.
yeah, no, we can talk about it now. Essentially, it's one of the main appeals for me working on this project, and it's one of the main appeals of this project as a whole for the company is can we make and release a boxed game? Can we just put something like this out and it be done and that's it? And then that's our plan, is have it on early access and you buy it and that's it. And as we add to it, you just keep the game. And then when it releases fully and it's completed, it's 1.0, it's done, you already have it. You buying it early is not you like funding it or backing it. You're supporting us and we value your time, we value your feedback. We aren't going to turn around and be like, hey, the game's done, money please. Like you have already been with us on this journey and you've been a part of getting us to this finished product, so the least we can do is give you the finished game. But then also as we add more content, that's going to continue to grow the game and the core experience. But then post full launch 1.0, whatever you want to call it, we want to keep adding to the game. We have every intention to keep expanding post launch. And that is obviously just going to come in the form of DLC. It's going to come in the form of expansions, whether those are free updates or just paid one-off DLCs. We aren't sure yet, but that's the goal, is to make sure that, again, we're just adding content that you can buy once and you own it, and that's it. That might be cosmetic packs, things like a supporter pack. I know that games like Deep Rock Galactic have supporter packs. Love me some Deep Rock. So games like that are something that we're obviously very inspired by, and they inspire us in so many ways. But I think something that we're very keen to establish is that strong relationship with players of having a healthy and transparent system of monetization, because it's in this kind of gaming economy when attention and investment from players is so fragile. We want to just be like this, what you see is what you get. You can buy this on the store, it's got this. There are certain rewards that we have already set aside for things like the people who got hands-on and tested the game with us in our alpha testing. We've got a cape for folks who participated in our
Must be
alpha
nice.
tests. That's
Must be nice.
and hey, it was a random selection. Don't worry. The amount of people I know personally blowing up my DMs when we announced this, being like, bro, get me in. I had to be like, I can't. It's not fair. That would not be fair if we just, no, I can't do it. So our alpha testers will have a cape, and folks who are participating in early access who pick the game up in the first 30 days are going to get a cape and a scarf and a wall hanging, like a tapestry, because we just want people who are joining on the journey to have something nice. I think that's a cool thing, but it's never going to be anything like buyable XP or skipping levels or anything like that, because
Good, nice.
It's not the vibe, right? You want, when you see someone with a skill cape in your world, or you join a public world with randoms and you see someone with skill cape, you want to, just like in old school, you want to see someone with a cape and be like, that's awesome, you earned that, that is amazing. And you want to be proud when you get your capes, right? So that's the model we're leaning towards, and we're hoping that works and the players like it, and we'll see how that goes.
And are you still good on time? Because we're gonna get into the nitty gritty
Oh,
questions.
absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Because we're gonna get into more of the actual game based questions. There's a lot of people wondering.
Let's go for it.
A lot of things. So off the rip, when it comes to obviously PC and hopefully console, are we talking WASTA movement or the point and click?
It's WASD. We have some awesome gameplay systems, even in early access. So we've got dodge rolling. So you've got dodging, we've got blocking, and we've got parrying. So if you time your attacks just right, you can parry just about anything that's like human sized, you can parry it. There are some monsters in early access that you cannot parry. Don't even try. I'm not going to spoil what they are. You will know when you see it.
You'll know when you try.
Don't try. Yeah. You'll know when the health bar comes up and the nameplate appears. You're going to be like, oh, my fault, my bad. So don't try. But yeah, we've got parrying, we've got dodging, WASD movement. It's a completely free building system. So as long as the ground is stable that you can build on, there are certain areas that you can't build in, which are underground vaults. They're basically like mini dungeons. You can't build in there. But anywhere in the overworld, theoretically, you can build on. So you place foundations down, and then you can build your house on top of those foundations. We've already seen some incredible builds coming out of our alpha testing. But you can have 3 levels of snapping. We've got like a basic snapping, which is really intuitive on controller. And then you've got a slightly more detailed snapping system. And then you've got completely free rotation with no snapping. So you can make some pretty crazy looking houses with that. The building system has been worked on for ages. It's one of our core systems that we're really, really proud of. And the team have done such a good job with it. It's so satisfying to build a house. I know so many folks who have got hands-on with or have seen extended play test footage internally within jagex who are like, I'm just going to be building houses. I'm not going to be playing the game. I'm sorry. I'm not even going to go for the dragon. I'm just going to be building a house, which is totally fair. So yes, WASD movement, really, really nice controls. And on that subject, it is launching with what we're calling partial controller support, purely because there are specific menus and things like text interfaces, like typing in names, that don't natively work with controller. So we're listing it as partial controller support, but we're going to continue to iterate on that because, of course, we want to have full controller support when it launches on consoles. So it is on our roadmap of things we want to keep working on. But yeah, you can day one on early access grab your controller and get hands on with it.
When it comes to the looting system, any similarities to RuneScape's looting at all, or is it one of its own?
It's one of its own. There is enemies drop loot. There are no random loot tables at this stage. They will drop packs, specific factions of enemies. For example, goblins. When you kill a goblin, it'll drop a goblin pack that could contain ingredients for crafting something. It could contain rune essence. It could contain crafted runes. It could contain just about anything. So you can grab yourself a bunch of those, get yourself some goodies, and then there are specific items. I'm trying to be intentionally vague here. There will be specific enemies or mini bosses, whatever you want to call them. There will be big enemies where if you kill them, they will specifically drop equipment you can use to craft special weapons with special attacks. They are iconic RuneScape weapons. So there will be specific enemies you can farm for drops to make weapons. One of the skill spells, and we'll get on to skill spells in a bit, one of the skill spells we have is called Magical Mending, where you use nature runes. Everyone in an area can throw any of their equipped gear and just drop it on the floor. And you cast the spell, and it fully repairs all of the durability in all of the items within the radius of the spell. And then it magically hoovers itself back to the person and re-equips it. So instead of having to be like, wait, no, is that your steel chest? No, wait, that's my steel helm.
It knows
so it knows who Yeah, so it remembers who dropped everything, and then everyone gets their gear back. So you're not fighting over
When it
that
when it
DFS
comes
or anything.
when it comes to like character selection, then are there different characters or different skill types or classes? Is that a thing in this, or is
No,
that choose as you
it's
go?
completely it's complete it's almost entirely the same as it would be in RuneScape or Old School. You've got your two body types, you've got a variety of heads with different facial structures, with different eyes, brows, facial hair, hairstyles, hair color,
Classic RuneScape stuff.
um, classic RuneScape stuff. But then as soon as you spawn in, you are just pure noob trash. You've got level 1 in everything, nothing in your inventory. You have just shown up with a smile on your face and a willingness to fight a dragon, and that's all you need. Because everything else you're going to find on the continent. So you're going to be picking up like sticks at the beginning and stones, and you're going to have to like turn that into like a stone dagger, and you're going to be hunting and crafting and all sorts of stuff at the beginning. So there are no classes. You start out, everyone is a blank slate, but there is cross world progression. So the character progression is tied to you,
Nice.
not your world. So let's say I make a character just called Doom, and I go into a solo world, and I'm just chilling. I'm just chopping trees, using skill spells, and I'm just crafting. And I'm really good at construction. I unlock the better building pieces. I unlock better skill spells for all sorts of good stuff. And then my friends are like, "Yo, we picked the game up. Finally, we finally bought RuneScape Dragonwilds." And I'm like, "Yeah, it took you long enough." I'll join their game. I keep my progression on that character, but it's an entirely new world. They're starting from zero. Or if I want, I can create multiple characters and have one that's multiplayer and one that's just for me. And I can keep my world private that's just for me. And I can have like one character on one world, and I can jump to another character on another world to play with my friends. Or you can go in. I've had a great time during alpha testing. I have been jumping into online public worlds. People who are just like, I'll just take help from anyone. I'll jump in. I've got like, pretty high level attack, and I've got some best in slot gear, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I like show up, and we'll fight some giant rats or whatever, and we're having a great time. So you can have multiple characters all within the same game.
And then is your like you said, your levels are cross progressed, which is awesome. So your character levels are going to stay the same if you want to join these different lobbies and parties. Is there then a way, like you said, you had best in slot? So is your gear and stuff in your inventory also being progressed over into those new worlds?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you have done like one of our alpha testers did, who was just bare knuckle fighting mini bosses whose name I won't spoil, just fighting this boss over and over again, speed running, being like, okay, realistically, how quickly can I run from the start of the game to this boss and just beat its ass? That person could just repeatedly do that over and over again, and then jump to a new world with their friends and be like, check out all this stuff I got, and just drop loads of crafting materials, and then you can help your friends out. So
That's
there's some
awesome.
progression there, of course, and you can just jump across and have fun with friends, which is awesome. There is also an experimental, and I keep having to highlight this to folks, it is experimental. There's an experimental toggle option when you create a world, when you load into your game, to toggle on what's called friendly fire. It basically means that PvP is an option. But again, it's jank, very, very much not a polished thing. But we were like, let's see if players like this. And some players did, some players didn't. But it is a thing you can do. So maybe you get to a point where you're like, damn, I've got best in slot ranged gear. And your friend is like, I've got best in slot mage gear. You're
Let's
like,
duke it out.
I'm gonna make a world where it's PvP. You and I can get a Discord screen share up for your squad in the Discord call. You two can duke it out 1v1 and see who's better, what ranged or mage, and you can throw down. So that's also a really cool system. And if players are like, this is really awesome, we want to see this expanded on, maybe we can expand on it in the future. That would be awesome. So yeah, loads of different
Yeah,
options.
that would be awesome. All of a sudden, there's like a random like wildy portal option for a game mode or something that you want to risk it all and you actually lose your inventory, and that'd be cool. But those were two common questions. People were like, "Is it just PVE? Can we maybe PvP?" So it sounds like a potential toggle option which can be expanded on. And then some guy was like, "Can I kill my own squad for their loot?" So if you guys all agree and consent to it, it seems like you can possibly do that.
Yeah, you can, and then you can throw it all in your specific bank chest, and there's a skill spell where you can reach through to get, you can teleport, not teleport, whatever it is. You can like summon stuff from your bank chest to your inventory. So you can store all your PKing loot, and then you can be like, I'm just gonna go and grab my best in slot gear, and you can pull it.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, there's some awesome stuff already in, and the idea is that we're just gonna keep growing it with players, and that's so exciting that we've got the whole reason for the alpha tests, and the reason that we were trying to not really go out with a massive announcement or make a big splash before this announcement was because we were just trying to make sure that we were keeping things a little bit low key, because we were just like, let's be humble, let's keep our heads down. We don't know if players are going to like this. We don't know if players are going to say this is ready or not. So we have wanted to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, talking to players, getting them involved in the journey, and saying like, hey, is this good? And the feedback has overwhelmingly been, yeah, it's good, it's ready, let's do this. And so we went away after our month-long alpha test back in December. We went away, we did some research, we did some planning, and we got the green light of, yeah, this is the date that we're going with for sure. And it's just been such an exciting journey so far. So stuff like the PvP toggle and features like that are still very much a work in progress, but I'm really excited to hear how players feel about it. It's so exciting.
When it comes to the inventory system or that kind of interface, are there similarities then between RuneScape at all when it comes to that?
There's less similarities, I would say, with RuneScape. It's more of a survival system where you've got like specific chests, and you can fill those with certain things, and you can sort your inventory, and you can take all from your inventory and do all sorts of stuff like that. But there's no GE, there's no bank chest, there's no saving presets or anything like that. But hey, maybe in the future, if players are like, I would love to have like a centralized bank chest that I can just get everything from, maybe that's something you've got to earn the right to. You gotta like make that, and then that can work everywhere. It is something that you can build, and you have to use a skill spell to use at this point. But maybe that's something that we can then say, okay, how do we expand on that system? How do we develop this further? So maybe. But in terms of how we approach this, it's a challenge, because we want to be so faithful to RuneScape as a universe, and we love it. Obviously, so many of the team play RuneScape all the time. There's a handful of folks, myself included, who have worked on a RuneScape game before coming onto this project. So we have that respect for the OGs. We are like, we're like the little cousin. Like our marketing guy is always like, we're like the little cousin. We're gonna like earn our place on the family portrait. And I'm like, yeah, we're like not there yet. We want to grow up and be just like old school and be just like RuneScape, those like forever games. So there's lots of systems that we want to explore, but there's also stuff that doesn't necessarily click when you're using it in like a co-op game for 4 players. So a great example that I've seen a lot on comments is people talk a lot about, is there going to be a grand exchange? Am I going to be able to like sell stuff? We love the grand exchange in RuneScape and Old School. It's like the iconic central hub for players. Bank standing is a rite of passage. But ultimately, in this context of having a multiplayer game where everyone is kind of just surviving on their own, and it's a 4-player world, having that kind of in-game economy would be weird, and having the cross progression, it wouldn't work in the way we want it to. And it's best served in the MMO, and I think we wouldn't be doing it justice if we put it in this. So it's one of those things that, while we love it and we have an infinite amount of respect for it, it just wouldn't fit with our system. So it's not something we're doing, and it's not because we don't think it's awesome, but it's just because it doesn't fit with the systems that we have. But there's so much more RuneScape that we're trying to pull from and bring in and make it part of our DNA.
Will there be questing?
Are you kidding me? Yes, of course. Absolutely, there will be. Um, I can spoil the first quest that you get. It is called Dragon Slayer
No.
because, of course, it is. Yes. So there's going to be. I want to say there's at least 10 quests on launch, varying lengths and sizes and sort of tasks. But it's going to be dotted around the overworld. There's going to be the 4 key NPCs that the player interacts with. They have their own individual reasons for coming to this continent. They have their own aims and aspirations, and they're all in service of making Ashenfall safer, protecting Gielinor from this dragon threat. But they all have different quests. They all have different narratives that they want to explore. And our lead narrative designer, Mod Raven, has worked on RuneScape for over 10 years, has written some amazing quests, has written some amazing lore, some amazing dialogue, and they are back to work on RuneScape Dragonwilds, and they are cooking. They are absolutely back on form with this. So there are some awesome quests in there that I hope players love as well. So that's another aspect that we want to continue to iterate on, is as we add our first expansion, for example, we'll add another NPC that players can interact with, and they will have quests for you, and they'll have stories, and you'll have more opportunities to build out a little bit of world building there. And it deepens that connection of both people who are new to RuneScape, who only ever were like, oh yeah, I remember kids talking about that growing up. Man, that's still going. That's crazy. I want to play this. This looks fun. Who might not know the lore. There's an opportunity here for us to be like, okay, you don't know what a God Wars dungeon is. You don't know who the Dragonkin are. You don't know about Dragonfire shields or any of this stuff. So let's use this as a learning experience. But there are also people who live and breathe RuneScape, who play it every day, who will not miss an update, who are maxed, trimmed, comp caped, whatever it may be. Those people will also get the opportunity to explore some lore that we haven't really ever touched on. And we're telling new stories through new characters. And it's a bit of a blank slate for us to say, okay, if we had a continent that was entirely clean, what kind of story do you want to tell? All we know is it's got to involve dragons. What kind of story are we telling here? And the story we're telling is awesome. And I'm really hoping that players like the quests that we have and the story that's coming together here, because it's great.
I know you mentioned it earlier, the playthrough time, but obviously people when they see these kind of games, they're hoping for as much content as possible. They want to stay in these worlds as long as possible, and some people are experts and they can speed run a game like Valheim faster than us casuals. So, what can people expect time wise for this kind of playthrough? And then I know you also previously mentioned, are there plans to expand on that content and keep people obviously on as long as possible?
That's a great question. And I think in terms of content for us at this stage in early access, without any of the initial expansions that we want to do through early access, we're looking at between 20 and 40 hours of content. Um, it's a solid amount of quests. There's 9 skills. There's a dragon to fight at the end of your quest line. You're taking down a dragon, and that's in service of progressing the story forward. As we expand the story beyond this, you're fighting your first dragon overlord, General Velgar. He's a big green dragon, real mean, and he's here to ruin your day. So you're going to be taking down one dragon, and our plan is then, with our first expansion, we're going to add another region. We're going to add another dragon overlord for you to fight, and that's just going to be our cadence as we go. We want to keep adding more dragons and adding more areas for you to fight. But we're looking at about 20 to 40 hours, depending on how hardcore you are with survival games, depending on how challenging you find them. And then in terms of how we want to expand that further, is we would love to add, with every content update, another series of quests, another NPC to give you quests, another biome for you to play around in, more building equipment. That means we need building pieces for you to build another house, more weapons, things. We have an amazing history of RuneScape items to pull from. So we're going to be like, okay, what's next? Do we want to give you rune armor? Do we want to give you dragon armor? Stuff like that. We're going to keep going through those tiers and building up, and that's going to be letting us make some iconic gear. So we're looking at adding more content, sort of like 10 to 20 hours of content in an ideal scenario with each of these expansion updates would be ideal as well. So obviously we want to keep adding more with each of these content updates. I appreciate survival crafting is one of those genres of game where, you got one guy in the friend group who's like, yo, we're going to get this. We're going to play it for a couple weeks. This is going to be our new game. You get it. You play it for like 2-3 weeks. And you're like, cool, we're done. Everyone's built an amazing base. Everyone's got juiced gear. You're all absolutely stacked. And then another game comes up, or like your old favorite game comes back into rotation, or someone's like, oh, why don't we go back and play this? And obviously, we appreciate that a lot of our players are old school RuneScape and RuneScape fans. The grind never stops.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that that is going to be calling you. There's going to be more Valamore and the Desert Quest storyline over on RuneScape and the Amascut fight. And so there's loads of content coming out for both of those games as well. So we appreciate that this is not a game that we expect people to be playing every day forever. But we're hoping that there's a lot of content here for you and a couple of friends to explore through and have a great time with. And then we'll be out with another update soon after that. And then you can jump back in, play through that, get another few, 10, 20, maybe 30 hours of content out of that, enjoy that, really get some fun experiences from that, grind the boss, get better at it, get really good gear, feel really good about it, give us some feedback, hang out in the Discord or whatever it may be. And then we're just going to keep that cycle going, because we know that this kind of cycle isn't about making enormous amounts of content and that you're going to be here forever. It's about making a game that you're excited to get an update for and jump back into with friends. And maybe in the future, I would love it for us to give players the capacity to say, all right, here's the tools where you can customize your world. How much loot do you want an enemy to drop? How much wood do you want a tree to drop? How quickly do you want the day and night cycle to move? How hard do you want enemies to hit? How much water do you need to drink to not die of thirst? And give you all of these different sliders to make the game a little bit more customized to your own experiences, and maybe even up the player count or any sort of options we have. Give you more ways to deepen your experience so that you can then say, okay, it's been 3 months. I'm going to boot up another world. I'm going to make it really hard, and we're going to jump in, and we're now experts. We've got good gear. Let's see how we fare. And maybe that's a way that we can make it an experience that you want to keep coming back to again and again and again. But right now, we've got a really solid base of content and a really solid experience that we hope players love. And we're just going to keep expanding on it as we go, with player feedback coming in at every step of the way.
So one overarching boss, will there be any like demi bosses before that, or is the end goal of this game the Overlord Dragon?
Yes. So the Overlord Dragon is the boss for this region. And then when we add our next region, there'll be another Overlord Dragon. And then the next region, there'll be another Overlord Dragon. And that all culminates in, before full release, I would absolutely hope before full release, we have you face down the big bad. The whole reason you're here is Queen Kuldra, an enormous titanic dragon, who is rumored in hushed whispers to have eaten a god. An enormously omnipotent dragon that channels the powers of every dragon you faced in RuneScape. And you're going to need to have some really, really stacked players on your side to take her down. So that is what we are hoping to build towards, is that the ultimate end goal is, right now, you're slaying a dragon. By the end of this, you're going to be facing off against a god eater. And that's going to be an enormous experience and a big fight, and something that I think that we're really excited to try and work towards and deliver on. So right now, one dragon. But with
Early
every update, we're
access, one
hoping to add.
dragon.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
by launch, danger, Overlord Dragon.
Yes. Lots of Overlord Dragons, and the big bad herself, Big Mama, is going to ruin your day. So it's been so exciting seeing this all come together, and already laying down the foundations from both alpha tester feedback, and now we're prepping ourselves to take on that sort of initial few weeks of feedback from folks getting hands on with this. The work is already being done for our next expansion. We already know the name of the dragon overlord you're going to be fighting. We know that the region, we've got it all pinned down, but it's just understanding what is most important to our players, what's most important to you guys at home, that makes you most excited about jumping in and playing this and getting that expansion into your game and getting hands on with it. That's the thing that I think is most exciting for us now, is what's next, and where do we go from here? How do we make this experience even better, even more RuneScape, even more dragons, even more everything?
So the essence behind the name then, Dragonwilds, is by launch a series of escalating dragon bosses that leads to Overlord.
Yep,
Okay, just wanted to.
absolutely.
Okay, awesome. That sounds sick. I know you just mentioned as well 9 skills. A huge question
Yes.
people are wondering, like, are these similar skills then that we've seen in RuneScape? And you've also mentioned the leveling and how you have the fireworks. Can you go into detail about the skill system?
Of course, I feel like it would be remiss of me not to mention the skills because that's part of RuneScape's DNA. So on launch, we're going to have 9 skills. That includes the combat triangle. That's your attack, your ranged, and your magic. We also have construction, crafting, mining, woodcutting. That's 7. I'm missing 2. Cooking and herb lore. There we go. I
Herbal,
got
there
it.
we go.
There we go. So shout out everyone who's been cleaning up grimy weeds for years on
Are,
years. We're
are grimy
back.
herbs returning by chance?
I think they're pre-cleaned. I think you automatically clean
Gotcha.
them. But you're gonna be making potions. You're gonna be, Marantil right there. You got to pick it up. You got to get back on the grind and get brewing. So there's these 9 skills, and we obviously want to keep adding more. The one that even from alpha testing, when we got folks hands on, people were like, fishing, man, we got to get fishing in here. And absolutely, we want to get fishing in there. We want to keep expanding the continent so we can get you these awesome spots where you can start fishing. But we've got the core systems for you to have a survival experience. But with each of these skills, they work exactly as you would expect. It's exponential leveling. So every level gets harder than the last. 92 will be half of 99,
And
all
it
of that
is
good
it.
stuff.
Sorry, is it to 99 then?
So in early access, I believe our cap is 50, and then we're going to keep adding. And when we hit that 99, that's when we're going to let you folks flex those
Let's
final
go.
capes.
So
And
capes are back.
so capes are back, absolutely. And the other core feature of the skilling process, apart from the 92 being half of 99 and the fireworks, is skill spells. So as you progress through these skills, you'll all have already seen from the little gameplay snippet we shared a little while back, you will unlock these things called skill spells. They are a sort of transformative ability that really summarizes the fact that this continent you're on is so rich in anima that it's just magic is just in the air. Um, so if I level up woodcutting, I can unlock something called astral projection. So I've got an axe in my hand, but I can use magic to turn that into a ghost axe, and I can just throw this, and it'll go through as many trees as it can hit in a straight line, and they all immediately get cut down. So as you start to get better at these
Each of
skills,
these skills has
you're
a
like,
spell.
they have several spells. At the moment, we're trying to make sure that each skill has at least one skill spell, but then we want to start focusing in on specific skills and really deepening that connection. So there'll be passive unlocks. So for mining, for example, there's a chance that you'll critically strike the rock to do more damage. You'll hit it and you'll do double damage to it. That's cool. That's fine. That's a passive thing. It feels nice every time you level up. You're getting a little bit better. But your skill spell will be something called Rock Explosion, one of the first ones you get, where you can spend some, I think it's earth and fire runes. Don't quote me on that. You just point at the ore node. We all know what they look like. You point at one of those, and it just explodes, and all of the ore that was inside it immediately gets vacuumed up to you, and you just take it instantly. Instead of having to hit each of the individual rocks and get all of the ore and then pick it up, you can just go explode, and it does.
That's sick.
So there are obviously, we appreciate that grinding to max any skill is a time consuming process. And we also appreciate that as you progress through a game, like a survival crafting game, you don't want to be like, okay, it's been like 30 hours of hitting trees. Can I just, okay, this tree is better. So it means I can build a better base, but I'm still hitting a tree with an axe. I'm kind of, so instead of that, we can say, okay, why don't you just throw the axe at the tree? Or if you've knocked a tree down, why don't you cast a skill spell that immediately turns it into usable planks? Or why don't you cast a spell that turns this tree into a bunch of usable equipment? Let's say you've just respawned, you died fighting a monster, and you can't get back to your gear that you dropped. You can cast a spell on a tree that says, just give me one of everything. And it gives you some basic beginner equipment, some arrows, a shield, some really basic stuff to get you started so that you can make that run back to your gravestone, pick up your goodies, and then you're back in.
Yeah.
And there's loads of different skill spells, and we're so excited to keep letting players get more and more hands-on with more powerful abilities. These are just a few of them. I forgot a skill. My goodness. Did I say rune crafting? Rune
You
crafting's
didn't,
in this.
but
Of
you said
course it
rune
is.
essence, so I think people should have known.
Rune essence, yes. There we go. I'm going to get told off. So rune crafting is in. You're going to be plucking rune essence from out of the air and crafting it at a rune altar. You're going to be making all sorts of different kinds of runes. You've got astral, law, nature, earth, fire, all sorts. And runes are, as you would expect, the ammunition for your magic abilities. So you can build your mage gear, craft your mage staff, and you can choose to cast either fire or air spells. At this stage, we're going to add more different styles as we progress through to full launch, but you can cast air spells that like launch the enemy back a little bit or knock them aside, or you can cast fire spells and you can bring down a massive rain of fire on someone. So we're hoping to then, in the future would be cool. I know that I've already seen a couple comments out there. People are like, can I cast Ice Barrage? Maybe in the future, we'll see. That's one we'd love to have. So there's gonna be loads of cool options for us as well. So I'm just so excited for the team to be getting crazy with it. We've got some really cool combat spells on the way as well. One is already in the game called I think it's called Tempest Shield. So as a melee player, if you've got a shield, you can cast a skill spell that when you put your shield out in front of you, you get a much bigger shield made of air that blocks in front of you. If you've ever played Overwatch, think of a Rhine shield. So your melee player is now your frontline tank who can stand in front, put this massive shield up, and you guys can shoot through it with arrows and fireballs. So you can be a bit more frontliney. So it lets you embrace a little bit more of the fact that melee is up front. You guys are up front. You're in the front line, and you want to protect the folks behind you. And that kind of stuff is the direction we're hoping to move in. So the skill spells are awesome. Everyone loves them who gets hands-on with them. And I'm so excited for people to get hands-on with them in game and give us feedback on them, and for us to start introducing more with the next updates, because they are awesome.
And just so we can have the clip out there, not to put you on the spot, to make sure to mention rune crafting, can you reiterate the 9 skills that will be there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will have attack, magic, and range, the classic combat triangle skills. We'll have rune crafting, herb lore, and crafting. We've got cooking, we've got construction, and there's one I've
Mining,
forgotten.
I think.
Mining. There we go. Thank you.
I was getting nervous for you.
I was
how
so
are you doing?
close. Oh, no, hang on. Maybe it's more than 9. Am I getting this wrong? Hold up. I'll get this right. Am I going to have to pull up a sticky note? No way.
I would. It's worth it.
There we go. Let's type these out.
So there's a combat triangle.
There we go. I think I got it. Right. First try. Here we go. I'm cooking. Here we go. So there are going to be a series of skills that you can level up, including woodcutting and mining, of course, the attack, magic, and ranged, the classic combat triangle. We've got herb lore, rune crafting, and construction and crafting as well. So you're going to be able to build, you're going to be able to cook. Cooking is there as well. You're going to be able to explore all sorts of goodies and really build out a full tree of skills. But that's not all. Obviously, we understand that there are a lot more skills in RuneScape. So there's going to be more coming. We're going to keep adding more as we go. We want to hear what skills players think we need to get in as soon as possible. I know that we've already had folks asking about fishing. We've had folks asking about summoning or something like that. And who knows? No sailing though.
Yeah.
that sounds complicated, and we don't want to get people confused. So that's fine. That can wait.
Is that 9 then, or how many was that? Because I was trying to count under the table. I was like,
I want to say it's 1, 2, 3.
I'll
4,
get
5,
confirmed
6,
from you after too, just so I have the list.
7, 8, 9. I think it might be 10. It might be 10.
All right.
I might be getting ahead of myself.
We'll clarify in Discord after, just so, because that's going to be obviously absolutely a great one to have.
It's gonna bug me if not, and if needs be, I'm happy to send you a clean take.
No.
Just name them all.
One of those will definitely work, and I'll just add one in if there was one forgotten. But
awesome.
And then, so when it comes to, is there going to be any semblance of a skill tree system outside of that? Or is it just going to be, hey, we have these skills, you're choosing which skills to level, and then you of course are choosing which areas of combat you want to strengthen, and then of course you've mentioned the abilities. So is there a skill tree system outside of that, or is that what we're looking at?
No, so in terms of the skill tree system, it is entirely just if you put XP and time into grinding a skill, you will progress that skill.
Okay,
There's no sort of side passives or anything like that. There are set bonuses for wearing gear. That's something we're planning on iterating on. But outside of that, there's no passive sort of skill tree
that makes
system.
sense.
It is just if you're really good at woodcutting, you just get good at woodcutting, and you are still level 1 in everything else. Um, but that's I think true to RuneScape's
Yeah.
DNA, and I think that's what players are expecting. So we didn't want to deviate too much.
Yeah, get too complicated out there. Plus, I think that makes sense why you
Yeah,
were saying, hence, if you have someone who's really good at woodcutting, you're going to want to send the guy out who can just explode trees as opposed to the guy who's just starting chopping. So
yeah,
it's cool when you have a co op 4 person, you can have people specialize. And of course, when it comes to combat,
absolutely.
you want to have a variety in your group. Some closing questions for you. Sorry, we've
Sure.
this is the
No,
longest interview
it's
I've done in a
this is
while because it's
this
just
my pleasure.
okay, awesome. Because I love this stuff. So when it comes to creatures carrying over from the RuneScape universe, I don't know if you can name all of them, but I'm sure we're expecting to see quite a few. Are there ones you can name that we're gonna be?
This you're putting me on the spot. I'm going to do my best. Okay, so we have giant rats, wolves, kebbits, chinchompers, terror birds. We have dire wolves. We have goblins, goblin rangers, and goblin archers, which I think are different. Three kinds of goblins. We've got uh we've got terror birds.
Any
Oh, what
any
else have
any
we got?
imps or dark wizards?
No, they're well, there's maybe some wizard
We
shenanigans
need
going
some
on.
dark wizards
We'll
to
see.
lure the low levels into.
Exactly. We want people to get, when they start hitting for sixes and you're like, I gotta people immediately trying to eat as much shrimp as they can to
Yeah, the
get
guy
past
in
them.
Mithril
Yeah.
lied to me.
Yeah. I'm still traumatized about that guy who said he was going to trim my armor. I'll never get over it.
Okay,
It's
so
fine.
it sounds like a good amount of creatures though, and maybe to expand on
Yeah,
in the
there's
future.
some classic ones. There's some that I don't want to spoil for folks right away, that you'll see when you get later into the game. But there are some classic RuneScape creatures with a fresh new look. They look amazing. The team have done an awesome job bringing them to life in a totally new way. So there's some iconic characters as well. We've got your party of NPCs that are going to be giving you quests is the Wise Old Man. We've got Doric the Dwarf, Vanica, the greatest living swordsman, and Zanuck the Cave Goblin is going to be there as well. So you've got some awesome points of reference who are going to be giving you guidance and telling you the story along the way. But they are the background. They are there to give you some guidance and give you quests, but ultimately everything you do is up to you. It is on you to experience it and get out there and be somebody. So there are lots of other characters that you'll meet along the way. Some ghosts, some goblins, and a lot of lore left lying around by adventurers long gone. So you'll be able to piece together the story and where it fits into the larger context of RuneScape as a universe. And there are some really awesome moments. So I'm really excited for it's going to be awesome for everyone, but especially for people who love RuneScape and who are fans of the world. They're gonna really love
Yeah,
this.
people were raving over the wise old man. He got a little revamp. He's still
He looks
going.
good as hell. He's great. I'm gonna get flagged for this, but Zanuck's kind of bad. The concept art for when they were like, we're remaking Zanuck the Cave Goblin, I was like, what?
I mean,
No
that's
way. You
that's modern gaming. That's finest. Someone's got to be.
So they got me. I was caught in 4K. I was down bad. But yeah, they look awesome. It's amazing. Vanica especially looks really cool. Obviously it's one of the first characters you ever interact with, giving you that butter knife, sending you off to fight rats, and now you arrive on the mainland, off the mainland, and onto this continent. And he's like, you got to kill some giant rats, bud. He's back to his roots. He's like, let's get you trained
I didn't
up.
expect
Let's
the
get you
giant
fighting
rats, but that's
rats.
that's so awesome. That's going to be a thing. What about for the
Yeah.
hardcore players? What about attainable pets?
So pets are something that we are internally discussing because there's something really, really cool and they're a really, really exciting feature of every skill in RuneScape is, look, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm level 107 in agility on RuneScape. I haven't got the skilling pet. I'm mad. I'm I'm taking it personally. It's a personal attack on me right now. But we appreciate the pets are an awesome thing. So we would like to have pets in the future. It's a full launch thing, maybe, but right now, because the skill doesn't go all the way to the top, we haven't maxed out the skill caps yet. We don't want to start putting the pets in because if you get them at like 50, you're getting spooned. Come on, that's not fair on
Yeah.
everyone else. So we'd love to have pets in the future though, because much like the skill capes, it's one of those things that you see someone with the pet and you're like, damn, that's really cool. That's a really cool experience for the hardcore folks to chase and a thing for people to grind towards. So it's not something that we're potentially it's one of those things where we want folks to appreciate the grind and for achievements to be meaningful and for you to be able to see someone's achievements on the gear they wear, like the Inferno cape, like your Zuck helm and things like that. You want people to see your gear and be like, okay, he means business. But also, we're a survival game. We're not going to be updated week on week, so we don't want to be like, you gotta keep playing this every day until you get the pets. So there's a lot of conversation that I personally want to have with the community about how do we approach this in a way that makes getting a pet feel awesome without it being, I've got to go do 4,000 hours of wood cutting to get this pet because I need it because I'm a RuneScape player. I need my collection log to be all greens. I
Yeah.
can't let this go. So that's something we do want to talk about, but it's something that I know internally the team loves the idea of. It's just a question of how do we do this in a way that doesn't ruin the vibes.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure.
When it comes to mobility, whether it be walking around the map, running, energy/resting, and then of course, lodestones for transport around this world. Well, what are we looking at?
So you're going to be hoofing it for a lot of it. That's going to be running. That's going to be using stamina, similar to run energy, to those familiar with it. That's going to indicate how far you can run, and that's also what you use when you dodge or evade. That's going to cost you stamina as well. You can recover that if you eat specific meals that you cook for yourself. You'll get stamina regen bonuses and things like that. So there are incentives to cook nutritious meals and give yourself bonuses like that. You can brew yourself um, cordials and elixirs and teas and stuff like that as well. So there's ways for you to experiment with herb lore and cooking to empower yourself. That's going to be your main way of getting around. But there are ancient dragonkin vaults dotted around this landscape. You're going to have to explore them. You're going to have to find out what's lurking inside them, fight whatever might be defending the treasure in there. But if you can get your hands on some awesome treasure, there are materials inside those vaults that you can use to craft lodestones. So you can then create a network of lodestones across the world map and teleport to them at the cost of a few runes, depending on how much gear you're carrying. If you're like beefed up and you're carrying like loads of resources, it's going to cost a little bit more to teleport in terms of runes. So you got to plan how you're getting around. But yes, you can teleport from lodestones and you can jump from place to place. And we give you one for free because obviously, how else would you have got to the continent? There's one in the initial starting point, so you can build somewhere way out in the distance and then teleport back to that and jump between them. So that's an option as well. So yeah, there'll be lodestones.
No complaints there.
Yeah, absolutely. Wise old man knew. He was like, let me set one up in this little ruin real quick because I know that folks are going to need to get around. So he hooked you up. So yeah, lodestones and walking for sure are going to be the way to get around right now. And then hopefully we can explore about maybe later on as we expand out the rune crafting skill tree in the future. Maybe you can get yourself a home telly. Maybe you can make some home teleport tabs as well. You can have a couple of those in your inventory if you need to get back real quick. You've got a couple of options there. That's a nice to have in the future as well. So yeah, walking around in lodestones. We're not talking about agility as a skill right now. We'll think about it.
Will your character get better stamina, or items and stuff the only way to improve that then?
Items and stuff are the only way right now. But if we put agility in, I would expect that would directly affect how quickly your stamina regenerates.
That's probably going to be heavily requested, I would imagine, because
I would expect so as well. Yeah, for sure. So it's not in right now.
Hopefully base stamina is decent.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, you can get around pretty smoothly with no issues. And Yeah, but because we want the world to feel big, but we don't want you to feel like you have to take 20 minutes running from two different places
Yeah.
because, you know, we want to make you feel like you're actually moving and getting somewhere at any given moment. So that's the priority for us first and foremost is make the agility skill, if it's going to be in, have that directly correlate to how you get around. But without any of that, without any food or drinks or any potions affecting your stamina, you just want pure vibes. The base stamina and run energy is really good. So that's going to be affecting how you move around the world, and that's what's in.
Okay. Two last ones for you because I've kept you long enough. And I know it's a
Go for it.
reiteration here, but character customization. I know you mentioned before brows, bald head, and eye color and all that stuff. Can you go a bit more into character customization?
Yep. So we've got a bunch of preset character heads that have got different nose and facial structures that you can choose from. And then there's a selection of brow types, hairstyles, and hair colors, eye colors, brow colors, and facial hair colors. And there's, I want to say, 6 different beard styles, 8 different hairstyles, and you can combine any of the body type, head type, whatever you want to have. There's the male voice and the female voice. There's the A type and the B type, whatever you want to call it. And then you can have body type A, the noob guy, and you can give them like long hair, no beard. You can get body type B, you can get the female body with bald with a beard. You can do whatever you want with those different permutations, and that includes permutations of skin tone as well. So you can create a bunch of different customizable options, and they all look really awesome. It's a really awesome art style. Our art direction has come in, and we've been really inspired by folks like Mike Mignola, the artist behind some of the awesome Hellboy comics, and Dinsai Studios, and some really cool, unique character designs. And we've tried to channel that into our characters. So they've got this really strong silhouette that looks awesome. So we've added some customization options to that, but it still feels quite unique. So hopefully, whatever combination of character traits you put together and what features you have, it'll look consistent across all those characters. We decided not to go with things like sliders because we do love, and we got to respect the folks that put like 3 hours into the Elden Ring character customization. Shout out the Oblivion character creator. Spent a lot of my childhood messing with those sliders. We just want to get you into a character that you feel comfortable with and get you in game, because ultimately you're going to be wearing your blue mage gear. You're going to be wearing your steel medium helm. You're going to be geared up in your bronze gear or your leather ranged gear. You're not going to be seeing as much of it. It's just going to be about the experience. So there's a bunch of different options, and they're all lovingly put together. Our character art team cooked, but also we appreciate that spending too long on it and you're just going to be like, just get me to the game.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of different default options that you can jump into that are relatively straightforward, that look awesome, and we hope players love it.
Yeah, so like let's say RuneScape, there's a level of depth there, but it's also a simplicity that's like play the game, and eventually you're going to be covering your character with much cooler looking gear. I would imagine is the premise
I
there.
think that's it's sort of the essence of what a lot of people define their RuneScape character as, is less about what they look like. It's about the gear they have and the story they have. So yeah, much in that sort of same vein.
Last one for you. So when it comes to jagex, obviously working across RuneScape 3, old school, and now this, I saw that it was a common question. Any reason then for RuneScape players to worry about a shorter staffing on their games as this is being developed?
No, absolutely not. So this team, with the exclusion of a few folks who had actively been looking to join a different project for whatever reason, um, all of the team have come from outside of jagex. This is a team of people who have been brought in explicitly to make this game with this purpose in mind. This was never, oh, we were going to make something else and we didn't know what to do, so we've made you do this. Or this hasn't been, oh, we want to make less content for RuneScape, or we want to make less content for Old School, so we're going to make you do this instead. It's an entirely new team built from the ground up. None of the people from the RuneScape or Old School teams have been taken off of their work for this, and no headcount has changed. I moved from RuneScape to work on RuneScape Dragonwilds. The RuneScape team immediately got a new CM. Mod UE is doing an amazing job in my stead. So there's no change there. Everyone who's come into this project is coming into it entirely for this purpose. So Old School and RuneScape are getting as much content as they were before, if not more, since this project kicked off. So no one has come off another project, and you're not going to suddenly see less updates to Old School or RuneScape because RuneScape Dragonwilds is in development. Absolutely not.
Gotcha. I figured they would have noticed the last 2 or 3 years by now too. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, hey, that's all I had for you. That was incredible. That's like one of the longest interviews I've ever done, but just like truly excited for a project like this, and can't wait to share more. And hopefully, when it comes time for launch or closer to launch, would love to have a further discussion on any kind of updates and expansions you guys have planned or already released by that point.
Absolutely. As soon as we've got more to share, and I know that this will be the same for any of our expansions, it would be awesome to get more time with yourself and share what we've been working on, because it'd be great.
Boom. That was awesome. Thank you. That was incredible. I can't wait to chop that up.